Everybody's coming in. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I have no intro music, no intro video, nothing fancy like that. It is a casual meeting as usual. Welcome to Freedom Series number 4. Welcome, everybody. I see that people are still joining. We're going to give everybody some time to join. Okay, so we have our special guest, Sister Brande Peterson. Hello. Welcome, welcome. It's so nice to have you here. The folks are there and they're here to support you and they're here to hear everything that you have to say about freedom and life and love and family and everything. I am your host, folks, Mrs. Crystal Ortiz-Pizarro. And I am here to ask free people every single month what it is like to be free. And I am asking people to share their stories with all of us so that we can continue to be inspired and informed and guided along our path to freedom. So, Sister Brandy, welcome, welcome. I would love for you to please introduce yourself. I know many people have heard of you, especially those who have done the mastermind. They've heard your voice many times. Now they can finally put a face to the name. And I would like to ask you if you'd be willing to share your origin story. Tell us about yourself. Where have you come from? Where did you go? Where are you now? What is life like for you right now, Sister Brandy?
Oh, that's a long story. I guess thank you for the hair compliments. Welcome everybody. I'm Brandy. I am just originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up in the Midwest all of my life. I live in Texas now. Transitioned here about I want to say about 5 years ago. Like basically when I first started learning how to trade, I was going through the transition of coming from Wisconsin to Texas. The thing that kind of led me into learning about trading, which is kind of crazy because it's like I really like I knew the stock market existed, but like I didn't really know anything about it except for just the basic stuff you might hear in passing. And at the time, like I was a stay-at-home wife, and it was just my desire to, I'm like, I need something that I can do to make money that doesn't require me to have to leave my children. And somehow I ended up connected with Mr. T on Facebook. I really don't even know how, like, just everything came together. Like, and I was following his posts for a while, and I'm like, okay. And like I know a lot of people might think he crazy, but to me it was making sense because I'm like I usually don't hear people that like say things or believe things that like fall in line with the way I saw them. So that was the thing that kind of intrigued me at first. So I'm like I was watching just everything he was posting for a while. And then when the pandemic hit, I just reached out to him. I sent him an inbox. I'm like, I don't know nothing about the stock market, but I do know that this what's happening right now, this is an opportunity. I don't know how or what to do, but I know something needs to be done about this. And he was like, you're right. And he first sent me the recession lectures, but that was an accident. And then he was like, oh, wait, you wanted the course. So then he sent me that too. He was like, you could just keep that as a free gift. And I went through the course. Like, it was actually not that intense. Like, or maybe it wasn't that intense to me because he did say, whoa, like, you were done with it already. Like, it took about 3 weeks to get through it. But at the same time, I did have like a lot of like free time because I wasn't working a job at that time either. So I was able like just all day, every day, just nothing but videos, questions. And then that final project of going through that Forbes 500 list to make
Yeah.
a circle of 20, like
Yeah.
that was intense, but I got it done. And like, I don't know, it was kind of like for me, like just the excitement of the momentum of everything just flowing. I'm like, yeah, because usually when I first get my hands on stuff, like I can hit the ground running. Like, yeah, let's go, go. So it was just, I think in the beginning that just the excitement of it all is what kept me going. Like, life did get hard. I've taken a lot of breaks along the way because, like, that mental aspect, I really, really believe, like he says, and I know in practice now, that matters more than what you know how to do. Like, you can know exactly what to do and not have the capacity to carry it out if you are not actively making sure that you are managing every area of your life, because the way society is structured, their way works when you compartmentalize, but trying to do this, it don't work like that. You will think you got things in separate boxes, but they'll bleed into each other and you won't even realize it. Like, to the point where I remember after, well, the first strategy that I learned was the using earnings reports, and
Hmm.
I did pretty good with that. But when we first started transitioning into the DLTC and like using the indicators,
Yeah.
that was a time, because it was crazy, because like I still remember a time where like me and Mr. T were going over the charts after like a losing trade that I had. And it
Hmm.
was crazy because looking at it like at the chart in past tense, like clearly it was a put signal. But for whatever reason, I didn't see that from the beginning. And
Right.
that was where I really started to notice that like my my mindset based on whatever I'm dealing with in my life at the time changes what I see, like in a
Wow.
literal sense. And like that may be crazy to some people, but it was just like, man. And I went through a lot of unpacking, even to this day over the years, because that was even like a pattern that I saw in my life. And it's like, yeah, I've heard the phrase before, they say hindsight is 2020, but it really is. It's kind of like when you look back on stuff like, how come I couldn't see this from the front end? But it's like those emotional responses that you have to just being like nervous or needing to get it right or wanting to prove something to somebody, like even if it's just yourself,
Yeah.
like all of those things like cloud the way you move in real time if you don't handle
Absolutely. You speak a mouthful and a truth there. It's like if you trade or if you're learning how to trade, what Sister Brandy just said is going to strike you to the core of your heart. I have a question for you, Sister Brandy, and I see some questions and answers are starting to pour in. Remember, everybody, there's a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. So if you don't see it, click more and then it will be there. You can type your questions and answers in that section. It's the easiest way for us to get to your questions, but we'll try not to miss any tonight. So I'm going to jump the line. My question will be first. What's something you found out about yourself that you didn't expect to find out when you began to trade?
that. I was seeking like a lot of external affirmation, like in a way that like I thought I didn't, like I was like, I don't care what people think, but like the pressures of like trying to navigate my life
Yes.
situation that was happening at the same time that I was learning how to trade, I realized that a lot of the pressures that I had that was affecting my mental, that was causing me to have to take breaks and pull back and start over again, was
Yeah.
because of just trying to craft my life in a way that was going to be acceptable to the people that were watching me from the outside.
Oh. So what did that look like? You trying to craft your life in a way to make them comfortable with whatever it is you were doing. What kind of things were you doing, or did you find yourself slipping into thinking?
Just, just all kind of crazy stuff, like because I guess the main thing was I called myself like trying to do two things at one time. And that's not to say that some people can't, but I couldn't. When the separation with me and my husband first happened, like I internally felt like, okay, you just need to focus on this, get this done. But
Mm-hmm.
I was also like hearing the chatter of the other people around me. And
Yeah.
like sometimes they don't come right out and say it, but it's like, well, that's not real. That's not realistic. Like you think you better than other people. You just need to get a job. And I was trying to manage both of that at the same time. And I did like find like some work from home contracts and it's like I didn't keep none of them because I ain't never been able to work a job because I'm just
Right.
a terrible employee. But it was like I slowed myself down a lot
Right.
by trying to like measure my life by what I thought the people around me were expecting to see and trying to manage to do the trading thing
Uh,
too. And is I get that some people have to, but it's like if anything you don't have to do, you have to trim away when you working on trading because it's like all of the cognitive bandwidth you can make available to it, you
mm-hmm.
need to. Like, don't
Absolutely.
do nothing you don't have to.
That's big. That's huge. So, what kinds of things did you eventually cut out?
Basically everything. Like I stopped trying to like do things the way other people would do. Like I cut off everything and everybody, like including my family. Like I even like have had to pull back from my parents at this point because
Yeah.
even in that is like there was so many like emotional ties to trying to live up to like the expectations of what people had decided I should be and what I should do and what
Mm,
would them feel good about me that I wasn't able to like and like I couldn't figure out a way to make it work and also still sustain my own life too. And
okay.
I just have to like I cut everything and everybody off. And I know that's probably extreme to some people, but like right now, I only deal with people who understand that me maintaining my mental health so that I can navigate life in the way that I'm able to sustain.
Yes.
Those are the only people I deal with.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, I assume that your circle has gotten much smaller ever since.
Very, very small.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's needed. So I'm going to step aside and allow people to ask some questions. We have some in the question and answer section. We'll try to go in order. Remember, people, the question and answer section is the best place to ask your question. That's the first place we look. Sister Sunita says, "Good evening, Sister Brandy. What has been your biggest challenge on your journey to becoming a great trader?"
For me, my biggest challenge.
Mhm.
I guess just that's a good question. Like it's honestly
It's a good question.
it all felt pressing at the time. So I guess I would say just recognizing in like every moment that I was dealing with, like isolating what things actually matter and made a difference and what things was just taking up space.
Right, right. And did it turn out to be not what you thought it was at the beginning? Did things surprise you when you were realizing, hey, I really thought this mattered, but you know what? It actually doesn't matter at all. I'm surprised at that. Did you have any moments like that?
I have moments like that every day. Like I it's like I just it's like one of the things about like having the freedom to just be alone with your thoughts and thinking and processing. It's like I uncover things all the time that like it's almost crazy to me where I am now. Like, how did I ever believe that? But it's like I now understand that a lot of the things that I once believed to be true or important or
Mm-hmm.
matter, like really don't. Like it's a lot of things in life that are just smoke and mirrors.
Understood. Understood. That makes absolute sense. I'm going to ask you for a specific one. What's one thing that you thought was important before your journey and now you realize it's not important at all?
Maintaining relationships with people unconditionally.
Ah, that was a mouthful. It's so short and so profound.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm
Like,
looking at your face. It's like it's so short and so profound.
no, because and it's like it's crazy because it's like, people like say that I'm mean or like, and I'm really not a mean person. Like, it's crazy to me that people say that, but like if you have anything or anyone that you like deal with unconditionally, that is going to be the one thing that will derail you every time.
Wow.
It don't matter who or what it is. You have to have certain parameters that you just will not go beyond. And if they cannot respect that, you have to be like okay with like realizing that like I'm not making this choice. Like I'm giving you the space or I'm giving this thing the space to conform itself to what I can tolerate. And if it won't, it's making the choice to be separated from me, not the other way around.
Mm. That's so oh my goodness. This interview is turning into a gospel. So I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen. I see a hand up as well, Mr. T. I see your hand. Let's get Mr. T's hand answered, and then I'll go back to the Q&A section because we have some more pouring in. Very exciting.
Yeah, pardon me. I just want to say this. I'm moving, so I want to make sure I say this in case I have to hit the pause button on the presentation. I
Yeah.
want to ask Brandy, and for those of you, I've
Oh,
known Brandy for a long time. I always ask her how old she is because I never really get into people's age, and she always tells me, I don't know. I think she's 33 now. I have no idea, but I've known
37.
her. So how old are you now?
37.
Okay, so I've known her since she was in her early 30s. And I remember one day years ago when we were talking, and I've talked to Brandy a lot over the years. And, Brandy's very intuitive and she likes to think. So I always listen because she'll always say something. And that I'll remember and it'll have me question, you know, sort of the structure and the foundation of what I'm trying to do. When we were talking and I asked her a question, and I said, Brandy, and she was just funny because everybody thinks that when you get free, they have this idea that, you start to hear Disney music and all this other stuff. But those sort of day to day issues are still there. And Brandy was expressing that to me. And I point blank asked her, I said, that you're, do you feel better off now than before my association with you? And I can't remember where she was at in her trading journey. I think she was either free or on her way to being free. It was obvious that she was going to be free. And Brandy's done a protocol, but this had nothing to do with the protocol. Um, and then when I asked her that question, she took a pause. She paused for a minute. And anytime you're having conversations with people and they pause on you when you're having a serious conversation and they pause, before they answer the question, that means they're thinking, right? And if I'm not mistaken, she told me, I don't know if I'm better off now the way I feel than I was before I met you. Even though she had already met a lot of these benchmarks. And I don't think I'll ever forget that because I hadn't really, you're just so focused on just helping people to get free that I didn't think about sort of the long term ramifications of being a free person in your 30s. And even to this day, Brandy, I think about that. And, we always have young people walking off the plantation, and I don't doubt my intentions, but at the same time, because of that conversation with you, and because of that hesitation and that pause before you answered, and your honesty. Because most people say, "Yeah, I'm better off. I'm making this money. I lost 100 pounds," but she was like, "I can't say for sure uh, if I feel better off than before." And I don't think that ever left me. And to this very day, I think about that and how to address that. And it's hard to address that with people in the beginning, right? When they're just starting on that journey. And you don't want to discourage them and say, well, you may not feel, even once you're free, you may feel like you're going backwards instead of forward. Yeah, you'll be able to make some money and you won't need a job, but your feelings, your emotions may not be what you expect them to be when that time comes. So I want to thank you, and I don't want to go on. You guys know I have a tendency to talk forever. I want to thank you for that conversation and many conversations that we've had. And for those of you who don't know Brandy, like Mrs. Crystal said, I think we all know Brandy because of 2023 National. But it was such an important part of that particular conversation that it stays with me to this day, and it makes me wonder and try to remedy that. And it's sort of become a paradox to me. And I have, and it was good. I mean, I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you were very honest. And it's something that I've been trying to figure out ever since you paused on that question. I don't think you said so many wonderful things, but that one has sort of stayed with me now for that had to be 3, 4 years ago, but it's like it was yesterday. So I just want to. Do you recall that? Do you reflect on that, or have things changed? Or what's your? If I were to ask you that question today, and maybe this will help me, you know, try to figure out. If I were to ask you that question today, what would be your answer?
Um, it hasn't, I wouldn't say it's very much different. Like, honestly, that is something that I probably do think about every day because I don't know. I feel like I'm in a space in my life where I really understand what the phrase ignorance is bliss really means because there's certain things that, like, once you see them, you can't unsee them. And I feel like the last 5 years of my life has just me been uncovering things that I kind of had an inclination of, other things that I was completely unaware of. And now where I'm sitting now is kind of just like on a, I guess, like a psychological level. I can see why, without even knowing what's on the other side, why a person would stay locked into the system. Because there is a comfort that exists there that when you are outside of it, you realize that you will never again have access to. And even in the space that you're existing, the people you come into contact with, even though you guys can make community together, you are still outside of the main scope of everything else that's happening in the world in a way that you are just conscious of all the time, every day, in a way that, like, there's really nowhere you can disappear into that you can forget about it. Like, even if you are like vacationing or you're at the hotels or you're wherever you are, because even most of the other people that are there, they are still locked into the system. They are experiencing it from a different place and perspective than you are, even though you guys are occupying the same space. So it's just you're just really, at least for me anyway, I'm just really aware of myself and the space I occupy in a way that when you are following after the mode that the system creates for you, like that you don't have to think. You just repeat the steps and then go to bed and wake up and do the next thing the next day. When that's not the reality that you're living, and you're literally consciously thinking through every moment that you exist, like it can be exhausting. Like just maybe just doing what they say ain't that big a deal. But not that you really want to go back to it, but it's like I understand the comfort of it in a way that I don't want to use the word appreciate because fuck that shit. But like but like I see it differently than I do now.
Let me just say this. I'm laughing over the FPS. And Brandy and I always have these conversations, and they can go for hours, and we're just trying to think about things. And I've told her, I said, I get that. And everything she just said, I understand. And and I always tell Brandy this, we're at the beginning process of what we're all trying to do. And it could take our whole lifetime to build what we're building so that our children don't have to go through the sort of this psychological, I don't even know what to call it, DLTC and Abakuas and UWS, but it's like some sort of psychological torture because you're so different than everyone else around you, what they're doing, and they're so plugged into the matrix and you're not. But I would always tell her it's going to take the rest of your lifetime to create this environment for your children and other people's children to where the feelings that you're going through, it will be natural for them to be where they are, excuse me. So, and I would always tell Brandy, and Brandy made an effort to go out and meet other DLTC folks and other free folks. And I would always say, well, that's that sacrifice. That's what we have to do, whether we want to do it or not. And she understands it because she's done that. And so I don't want people to think that because Brandy's the same person that said, I'd rather be dead than go back to what I used to. So she's the same person who said that. But the process of building this system and an environment that our kids can benefit, and I'm a lot older than most of you, it's going to take the rest of my life. And it'll probably take the rest of everyone on this call's life, regardless of how young they are. But this is what we have to do because this is what we build for our children. And it sounds crazy, right, to build this life that it doesn't involve selling our time. But Brandy's 100% right. It when you look back on how how soothing the Matrix is, it is, and even though she's not out here digging ditches, it's just so easy to let other people dictate to you what you're supposed to do to be doing with your life.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna say anything else because this could turn into just Brandy and I talking for 3 hours. I want to give everybody else a chance to say something. So thank you, Brandy. I appreciate you showing up and sharing your experiences with everyone. I really do.
Yes. It is something else. It's like when you're addicted and then you recover from that addiction, it just doesn't go away. So it's a case of, I think what how I interpret what Sister Brandy just said is that pain of always knowing what being addicted feels like. And that addiction has a certain bliss with it. So the addiction to the matrix has a bliss with it. So when you recover from that addiction to the matrix, you're always conscious of being pulled back into it because you know the cost. You can see what life is like outside of it. And as you said, you have to think through every moment of your life. Most and then not thinking, that's a kind of a luxury that we don't get back. As Mr. T also says, once you turn the light on, you can't turn it back off. So when you said what you said, it reminded me of when Mr. T said that. And the Q&A is blowing up, so I'm going to calm my questions because I have a million for you. And I'm going to calm my questions and ask some of the questions that others are asking. Kai Wilson is asking, are your children interested in trading? Or if they're old enough, have you taught them the skill yet?
Yes, my sons, they work on trading more actively because they are 13 and 11. So it's something that they're interested in and actually take serious. Like I kind of always like talk to them about it, like along the way, like even when we were going through the masterminds, like they would sit through them with me just so it was something that was in their environment. And my girls, like they're still kind of young, like they pay attention to it, but it's not that serious to them. To them, it's kind of just something that's around. But like I make it a part of their lives so that they understand that this is a normal thing for us, even if it ain't for other people.
Right. And in our conversation before we started the session tonight, I was asking you, and I think I had stopped there, how did they feel knowing that they're different from most of the other children in the world? And I guess you were telling me that they always knew they were different, so it's not strange to them that they're different.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, I always knew that I was different. Like one of the funny things that I have uncovered during this period of my life too is like I found out that I am autistic, and it was crazy because like when I came upon it, it was crazy to me because prior to actually understanding what it was, I think just like most people, you kind of just assume just based off the stereotypes of stuff
Mhm.
that's presented, but it's not actually an intellectual disability like most people think it is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, that's why I feel like I've been living on a different earth than everybody else. Because once I encountered other people who were autistic and like ran my life through the filter of that lens, it
Yeah.
was other one of those pieces that fell into place that made all of the experiences I've had up until
Ah,
this point make sense. And
I
so
see.
I have kind of just always been living a life where I was going against the grain, and not even because I was intending to, but because like dang, I really am seeing and perceiving things in the way that the average person isn't. And it's been like exciting too because it's like now I have a better understanding of myself and even my children because when I decided to homeschool them, I didn't know any of these things. It was kind of just the intuition I had from myself and
Right.
the understanding of who I was as a child. So I kind of just crafted our environment in a way that made sense to us. So it was always different from everybody else's plan of how you're supposed to do this. This is how you raise children. This is how you discipline them. This is how you teach them. And I don't know, like in a lot of ways, like I said, I feel like I've always been free. It
Right.
just was a matter of the manifestation of things catching up to my physical presentation.
Ah, this makes so much sense. And so so your children and they're growing into adolescence, they're growing into young adulthood soon, especially your teenager. Do they get any kind of inklings of, let's say, peer pressure? Do a lot of people, when they think homeschool, they're going to think that their children are going to miss out on going to school or desire to go to school, and then you have to fight them to hold them back from going to school, and all of these things. When it comes to it influencing or being the main influence in the lives of young impressionable people, how does your journey play out, and how have your children witnessed that, and how has it affected them when it comes to their perception of peer pressure and missing out on going to school and having proms and all of these things?
Right. Well, I don't know that they perceive it that way because it's like one misconception I feel like a lot of people have about homeschooling is that you're just at home all the time. And that's not true. Like,
That's
so
true.
even, before where we are now, having more freedom to move around, like we always did, like we participated in like reading groups at libraries, we went to
Yes.
co-op. So they experience environments where they're around other children doing group projects. So like they've always been in extracurriculars. Like I used to get like those little recreational books that like a lot of counties have, and they would try the different sports like track and basketball. So they did all of the things that children who go to school have access to. It was just more so directed in a way that I was guiding, and they had the freedom to choose versus having to just take what was presented to them.
Right. That's
Oh,
it. Huh? Please go ahead.
but yeah, and like, so my oldest son, I feel like I'm sure that at some point that peer pressure will become something that they have to encounter, but it's not really been that big of a deal now because ever since they were younger, like my friend, she always laughs at me. She was like, "You talk to your children like they're little people." And I'm like, well, they are little people because it's like, to me, children are like they're humans too, and it feels like to
Yeah.
me a lot of people do not recognize the fact that children are humans too. They may not have the experience of life to express themselves in the same way that an adult does, but everything that I've been living through, they've been going through it right alongside me. So I
Right.
have never lived with my children in a way where I like shielded them from my reality. I just met them in a way and talked to them about things in a way that they can understand. So when they encounter things, especially in other people, it's not really something that they feel like they don't understand what's going on, or they have to battle against it, or it's a pressure from the outside because they've already been seeing the world and
Yeah.
how people are and what things happen, and just giving them my perspective of it. And we talk about things like a lot of things that people feel like children shouldn't know. I
Mhm.
talk about those things with my children because the truth of the matter is there is no veil that, oh, well, this child is only this old, so they can only know and understand these things.
Absolutely. It looks like we've lost you for just a few seconds, so I'm going to wait for you to come back. Sister Brady may be experiencing some technical difficulties, but that discussion is going so amazing, isn't it, everybody? Sister Brandy is so intuitive and very, very extremely self-aware. I see some more questions in the chat. Hold on. Right, so we're going to get to these next. And we're just holding on for Sister Brandy to come back to us. She's freezing a little bit and then she's active again. So I know she's still online. It's just for her to probably disconnect and reconnect again. And remember, you all could ask questions in the chat. You all could ask questions in the Q&A section. And you could put your hand up as well. We should be able to answer everybody tonight. And let's see. Do we have the ability to unmute everyone? At least give them the chance to unmute themselves. Let's see. We have a good turnout tonight. Yeah, everybody is supposed to be able to talk tonight. So we're just waiting for Sister Brandy to come back. She had some connection problems.
Oh,
Oh, here you are. You're back. You're muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
oh,
Ah,
okay.
there
Sorry,
you
yeah,
are.
what
No
that was
worries.
randomly popped off. But yeah, so they're just a lot stronger in who they are as people than I was at that age. And when they do encounter things, like they
Yes.
come to me with, and we're able to like walk our way through things, and like they make really good decisions on their own. Like, because just help them understand, like, even if it's me, ultimately your life is yours. Like, you don't live up to who it is I decide for you. Like, you are your own person. Like, I really do believe that the moment that children are conceived, they are
Yes.
already the person that they were meant to be. It's not my job as a parent to make them into a certain kind of person. I'm just a guide.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I am asking, digging into these questions about child development because I think there are at least two homeschooling moms from the Abakuas here in the chat. I myself am a homeschooling mom, so that makes at least three of us. And I believe that there are more families who are starting to make the decision to have their children with them throughout life, as opposed to allowing them to be mostly educated and raised by others. So, okay, so here we have number four, family number four, another homeschooling family. So it's becoming something that's growing among our community because parents are deciding to reclaim power into their households. Now there's number six of number five, family number five. So here it is now that people are deciding to kind of pull power back to them, where we're starting to understand that freedom is not just financial, and we want something different for our children. So parents who are listening, I'm sure that it's touching each and every one of us who are listening to you in your example. You've been homeschooling for 11 years or 13 years, is it? For
Mhm.
enough time where you've been through the pandemic with your children, but it's not the pandemic that caused you to decide to keep your children with you. So it's very important for our people to start learning different perspectives of families, family arrangements, because family is everything. This is about family. Even though we talk about money and trading, all of this is about empowering the family. So I know you have a lot of questions here. Let me start to make some room for it. An anonymous member is asking, have you experienced any money blocks in growing your income or your accounts? For example, moving from 10,000 to 20,000 or 50,000 and beyond. So I guess you're looking for money blocks that you've experienced in that journey.
Right. I would say yes. And the money blocks was always the same. Like I always have to sometimes recalibrate myself to focus on the percentage and not the dollar amount. Because when you focus on the dollar amount, the way you perceive the decisions that you make are different versus if you focus on the percentage. And when I would run into blocks, it would be because I found myself paying more attention to the dollar amount than the percentages.
Right. That makes sense. So what kind of differences in perspective do you get when you focus on the dollar amount versus percentages? Because we have some new traders here who are not as yet in tune with knowing and learning the difference.
I feel like in the beginning, it's a big issue focusing on dollar amounts versus percentages because it's like you're really excited about it, like you're thirsty for it, and you know, 10% here, 5% there, 2% there, it doesn't feel big. So you'll kind of make decisions to like not get out of trades that you should because you're trying to push yourself like, well, I need this amount of money. And you will, at least for me, I will find myself in winning trades that would turn into losing trades because I didn't want to take the win because the dollar amount
Yep.
wasn't feeling big to me. But it's not really about that, but it takes a like a mental kind of hurdle that you jumping over to really get there because coming from looking at the way you earn money in society in a traditional sense, the perspective is the dollar amount. How much do you earn an hour? How much
Yep.
is your salary? Like it's you don't think about it in relationship to okay, what's actually happening here? Because $100,000 sound like a lot of money until you compare it to what you have to do to get it. Then it's just like, hmm, maybe that ain't it. And it's like you kind of got to think about it with trading too. It's like this seemed like a lot of money, but if I'm finna lose all 10 trades before I get this one big money amount versus taking the smaller percentage over time and
Yeah.
having it add up, it's like that make more sense. But in the beginning, it may not necessarily feel that way because you're looking at the amount.
That's it right there. That no, this it's huge because it's the biggest struggle that people have, that feeling like, oh, just I'm only earning $1. That's the first complaint that probationary traders come up with when they start the DLTC. For those of you all who do not trade us yet, when people start the DLTC and they do the theory part and then they need to trade, there's a period of time where they need to earn their high accuracy. It's called probationary. And our guide to them is to just trade, get the minimum amount of profit that you can get, and then get out. So that often means that they'll be like, let's say, risking $150 to get $1 profit. And then the first thing they say, oh, it feels like it's going to take me 25 years to be free because if I'm only earning $1 at a time, they're already trying to project 25 years into the future, saying, if I only earn $1 a day, it's going to take me 25 years to get the money I want. So they're looking at the dollar amount as opposed to the fact that their account is growing. Even though we tell them you're compounding, you're compounding. So you're adding that dollar to 150. Now you have 151 to work with. It still feels like forever because
Mm-hmm.
they're still focusing on $1,
Mm-hmm.
$1, $1. It's like, I can't trade
Mm-hmm.
$1 a day to freedom. I earn
Mm-hmm.
$15 an hour and this trade took me 15 minutes and I made $1. Like it's worse than my job. No, that's how they think. So
Right.
it's really bad.
And that's the crazy part though, because I've never heard anybody get a job that pays however much an hour and say, okay, in 25 years, this is how much I'll have earned working for this
That's
much an hour.
that's
Like,
an excellent
never heard
point.
anybody say that. But when you
That's an
start
excellent point.
trading, it's like, what? Like it's one of those crazy things where you got to fix your mind because it's
Yeah.
like those types of ideas, like the type of scrutiny that people will put on trading that they don't put on the
On
stuff
their
they're doing
jobs.
anyway that ain't
Ah,
working don't make any sense, but it feel like it makes sense.
that's absolutely, absolutely true. Now, people are asking you if you trade hard shares or options or both, because we know that the hard shares, people who do hard shares have that trouble more than sometimes more than those who do options. They tell themselves, what, 30 cents a share profit? So I made just 30 cents in one trade. What am I going to do? They think about the dollar
Right.
amounts even worse than the options
Right.
traders. So do you do options and hard shares or both?
Both. But the objective is, I would say, trading hard shares is not as like mentally or emotionally intense as trading options. Like options is a like you gotta have like military style discipline over your mind to like do that. So ideally you do the options enough to build yourself up to where when you are trading hard shares, that 30 cents is being spread out over a big block of shares versus just being able to buy 10. So
Yeah.
it's a step ladder, but it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I think the second half of that question is what's the highest number of shares you have purchased for one trade?
Highest number of shares.
Yeah.
um I like, as far as hard shares, or
I guess hard shares or
I don't
options, whichever
know.
one you feel
Like I
comfortable
don't know.
answering.
Like I kind of trade from the perspective of how much like money I'm willing to risk. And so
Right.
however many like shares or contracts that can purchase is just what it does.
There you go. That's true. With good risk management, you're gonna spread that out a little bit throughout the day. Um, let's see. We have another one. Good evening. After you started the DLTC, how long did it take you to become free? And did you need mentorship from Mr. T to get there?
Yes, I did. Like, I mean, well, maybe I could have done it without him. I don't know, but like I didn't do it without him, so I would definitely say that I needed him. I would say like to where I was like good, like okay, this is solid. Like I'm depending on this. About, I would say 2 years.
Mhm.
Probably, I was probably at that point, maybe about 18 months in, but like I was confident in it after two.
Right. That makes sense. And someone else is asking, Mrs. Mativa is here asking, what non-trading practices do you feel have most improved your trading performance? That's a good question, Mrs. Mativa.
Yes, non-trading practices. I would say just, I mean, I don't mean to get all deep on y'all, but like the non-trading practices would just be like getting in like therapy and like support groups and like dealing with like my traumas in life.
That makes sense. And I think she added on a second question. She's asking, how do you structure your life outside of trading to maintain peak performance?
I try to just do the same thing every day. Like I don't I don't let like other people like make plans for me. Like I tend to just isolate until I want to engage with other people, but it's mainly just I try to do the same thing every day. Like eat at the same time every day, like
Mm,
do my things with my children at the same time every day, like do my like it's like the less things I have to think about consciously, the more cognitive energy I have to make sure when I'm trading, I'm where I need to be. Like so as much as I can automate, I do. Like as far as like my bills, like my shopping, like the things I need to get for my children, like anything that I can automate, I do.
okay. Makes sense. So you've bought back your time in a sense.
Yeah.
Mm,
Like I honestly don't do anything I don't absolutely have to do. And just anything that can be automated so that I don't have to actively do it and think about it, I do.
understood. Makes sense. And so someone is asking, Amber Lucky is asking, what is your current daily routine? Did you change anything once you became free?
Um, I think my daily routine is still similar to what it always has been. I kind of just like I worked my trading into the life I already had. So it didn't really change very much. Like because my mornings were already kind of like my me time, so to say, because I
Mm,
don't like having to get my children up early. Like, so we always would start our homeschooling later in the day anyway. So we pretty much like when I'm, being disciplined, because like I try to maintain like physical exercise too, because I like to run, because that kind of helps keep me from not being so jittery when I'm trying.
right.
So most of the time, like unless I fall off, and then if I do, I know I need to take a break from trading, but I will get up, I will go run in the morning, then I come back, have my coffee, which I can't believe I'm a coffee drinker now, but I am. But it's like I would do my trading,
Mhm,
and then my children, like they're kind of at the point now where they can kind of get themselves up and going. So they
mhm,
usually get up around and have breakfast like around 10. We do whatever we need to do. We usually work for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. And then they have their evening activities, like they're really into swimming. Like, so my boys are like training to be a part of a competitive swim
ooh,
team.
nice.
So there's that. And then we come back home, hang out, like they're gamers. They do their little games. I play my little games, and then we wake up and repeat the same thing the next day, unless we're planning on like going somewhere or visiting. Like my friend just moved out to Oregon, so we came to visit her. But other than just those random breaks that we take, that's pretty
Hmm.
much what every day looks like for us.
Understood. And that sounds like a structured life story. Even with the freedom, the structure adds some balance.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sounds it makes sense to me. Sounds like a life that is charmed and lovely and at peace. So you've got not just bought back your time, but your cognitive load. You've bought back the space mentally.
definitely. Because one thing about myself that I realize, and I don't know if other people have experienced this, but when I even look back over my life and look at the like the best things that I have done. Like I recognize that I can't perform at that high level under any circumstances. And it's like the world try to make you feel like you should be able to perform at the highest level under any circumstances, but that's just not real. Like it's really not. And it's like I notice that when I have to devote like just any amount of like cognitive effort into like managing all of the stuff that life likes to throw at you, I
Yes.
lose access to the best parts of myself. And so even though I know that I have done better, I've seen myself do better, I know that I have the ability to, I also recognize that I don't always have the capacity to, and it's my responsibility to trim away those things that take away from my capacity.
Understood. So you're taking ownership over your own performance. And how did you reach to the point where you were able to give yourself enough grace to realize that it's not your shortcoming, your failure to be excellent, but the environment not being supportive that affected your excellence? How did you learn to give yourself enough grace to first recognize that, and then enough self love to remove the things that pulled you back from your best self? How did you come upon to become the type of person that treated yourself with grace instead of shaming yourself, um, to try to bully yourself into high performance, where you have learned how to be your own best friend? How did you get there?
Through a lot of pain, honestly, like through trying to maintain connections with people and things, thinking that if I showed up for them, they would show up for me and we could help each other maintain. And that's just not real. Like,
Wow.
especially if you are not trying to live the same type of life as the things you're connected to and the people you're in relationship with. And it's one of those things, like they say, like nobody is coming to save you. Like they're really not. Like if you don't do it for yourself, you are always going to be on the losing end of the stick. Because even if they believe in their hearts that they want to help you and that they are helping you, they won't really understand what will help you because they don't understand the objective you're trying to achieve.
Ah, that's it. That's it. And so I think you're touching everybody's heart in the chat. I'm seeing the chat saying that they really needed to hear what it is that you're saying. It sounds like it's a common problem where people are waiting to be cared for the way they care about others. And so I think tonight they needed to quite hear the fact that sometimes it's just not going to be reciprocated to you, and as soon as you accept that, you're going to be able to move on
Mhm.
and do what you need to do for
Mhm.
yourself. So
Yeah.
your saying was quite moving, right, chat? So they continue to grow through your advice and your wisdom, and it's just a wonderful session tonight. There are all kinds of questions in the Q&A section, so let me see if I can go through some. Okay, Mrs. Monica Jones is saying you mentioned earnings. Do you do earnings and drip? I guess that means dividend reinvestment program. Is that something that you do?
Not really. Like, I mean, I do factor in earnings into like choosing what I'm going to trade, but like it's not really the basis of it. Like it's just something I consider.
Yes, understood. That makes sense. And so somebody's asking a very interesting question. Ms. Lynette Neal is asking, so what if you are 60 and ready to retire? How can trading help me?
I mean, I guess it depends on like what your objective is. It's like if you're starting with something and you want to grow it, like it can help you with that. Or even if you're starting with nothing and you want to take that and make it into something that's going to make your retirement more comfortable, like it'll work both ways. It's just a matter of the best strategy based on what you're starting with.
Yes, makes sense. So that's pretty practical. And Sandra Wolf is asking, how much did the mastermind, if you did it, how much did it prepare you for trading?
Oh, a whole lot, a whole lot. Like the mastermind, I will say it it put me in a position to where like I had specific like points of reference to assess my mental, whereas it wasn't just a general idea of, okay, I need to be mentally well to trade. It now put me in a place of like, okay, these are the specific areas you need to investigate and repair versus just knowing it in a general sense.
Makes sense. All right. Next question, we're going to run through them. How have you found that stopping at a point in life? Okay, the way this question is worded is a little tricky, so let me see if I could rephrase it. I guess she's asking at what point in life did you know it is okay to be you as yourself? I guess that's what she's asking.
Mm, I wouldn't say that that's something that is a point that I know. Like, I feel like that's still something that like I uncover every day. Like, because it just wouldn't even be reasonable for me to sit here and pretend like I've arrived, so to say. Like, I still have things that I am working through that I understand were just given to me from whether it be like my community or my parents or friendships or relationships that I have to come to like some sort of conclusion about like, is this really like intrinsic to who I am, or is this something I adopted as I engaged with the world around me? And I find stuff in myself all the time that is like, yeah, I don't know if I really rock with that in the way that I once thought I did. So I think that's I think that's like a process that is never going to end. I don't think it's a point you arrive at.
Understood. Yeah, that's some huge realization that we are actually growing until we die, and there's no place to really arrive to while in this life. Someone is saying, I believe I heard you say that sometimes you need to take a break from trading. What does that look like in your life? Please speak to this in more detail.
Okay. I will say when I notice that my like percentage as far as my wins, if that starts to drop, then I know that even if I'm not consciously aware of why it's happening, just the fact that it is means, okay, I need to stop and figure out, like, okay, what's going on here? Like, who or what am I dealing with or not dealing with that's taken away from me being able to give everything I need to give here? And then once I figure out what that is, I deal with it and pick myself back up and start again.
All right. That's so it's a life management system that you have there, not just trading. Sister Gregorius asking what turned you into a coffee drinker.
I think just getting old.
I
Like, I don't
felt
have
that in
the
my old bones.
energy that I used to.
It's amazing. All right. Well, getting old is a good reason to start drinking coffee. I think it's just something you should do. The older people in the comments are protesting. They say, "Who do you think you are calling yourself old?" Somebody is asking, oh, Sister Monica is asking, did you build from the initial 150? So is your account is something that you just started from 150?
I've started several accounts from probably less than that. Like, it
Oh.
wasn't like a 150 and then I built from there. Like,
Mhm.
I've blown up at least, I want to say
Wow.
at least 3 accounts that I can think of off the top of my head. So it's like,
Mhm.
yes, but like multiple times.
I understand that. Some of us don't have a smooth start. I'm just right there, right along there with you. I know some people just started what from 150 and they went up all the way up, and that was like no issue. But then for some of us, we're gonna have to start again and again and again. So, but we get there all the same. Sister Lynetta is asking, so what would be a good amount to start with? I think this is the same person who asked about what could trading do for her at 60 years old. So I guess she's asking what's a good amount to start with at that stage in her life.
Well,
Trading.
I would say if you're trying to trade like options, start with the 150. Like
Mhm.
that's enough to like get a contract or two and like get your feet wet, because honestly, unless you are just like already like very mentally and emotionally disciplined person, that $150 is like your therapy session fee, because you are going to run into all kinds of emotions and mental patterns that you really paying to work through those things. You not
Oh,
actually trading to earn money at that point.
oh, there you go. That's real. It's true. So some that's a big one. Let me see a next one. Tawanya Bryant is asking, in your opinion, what is the best broker to use?
Whichever one's interface is most friendly to your brain. Like I've tried like different ones. Like I've tried the TD Ameritrade. Well, now they blended into Charles Schwab. I tried the E-Trade. I tried Robinhood. I tried Fidelity. And it's just like I just go with the ones that the way that they're structured is easiest for me to navigate. Like I don't really like Fidelity. Like the way that their stuff looks is just it's too busy for my brain. So I prefer things with like a simpler interface that is easy for me to see. Like, okay, this, I press this, because that's another thing you're gonna realize when you starting to learn trading is it's easy to accidentally press the wrong button if it's
Yes,
a
it is.
lot of stuff going on. So
Yeah.
you just want to find the one, and it may seem like it don't matter, but even the colors, like you'll learn that based on just even the different colors that different platforms use, that there are certain ones that are more comfortable for you to be looking at and navigating versus other ones. So I would try all of them that you have access to see which one works for you the best, because what I like may not work for you.
Absolutely. That makes sense. That's a fair answer too. And Karen Petit, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, is asking, once I learn this for family and or friends that you want to introduce to this, but you believe they're financially immature, such as buying frivolously or gambling. Should this be a concern for introducing them to the DLTC, or should it not be a factor or even my concern and I should introduce them anyway? I guess Karen is asking about whether he should introduce trading to friends and family that are what he says is financially immature, not making good financial decisions.
Well, with where I am now, I wouldn't bother. Like when I first started learning about all of this stuff, I was telling everybody I knew because it was just exciting to me. But I have now grown to a place that if it's something that the person is actually ready to receive, they'll
Mm-hmm.
approach you about it. Like, don't waste your time trying to bring people into the fold. Like, that's just gonna be something that drives you crazy, stresses yourself emotionally, and it's gonna take away from you doing what you need to do for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. It's true. Next question. Did you have struggles trading options? If yes, what was your biggest challenges? I know that you've answered this, but I'm asking the question just to give some space to this question in case you want to answer it directly.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, honestly, and I don't know that any of them was the biggest challenge. It was just the one I had to overcome at the time, because pretty much everything Mr. T talks about that you will do wrong as a trader, I did all of them. Like, I really did. Like, and I don't know that any of them were bigger than the others. It was just like, okay, I dealt with it. And then I'm just like, I'm in a little groove. And then something will come up again. And it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong now? Then I have to deal with that. And then it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
It's like I don't know, but yeah, like I did everything wrong. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you have a final comment in the Q&A section. We've made it through the way to the end. Sister Monica is saying, regardless of your familial relations, your parents did a good job with you. The confidence, self-awareness, fearless attitude towards trading is impressive. So that is what she is saying to you. And so this is a final call for comments. If you all want to give Sister Brandy any greetings or ask Sister Brandy anything with your voice, please raise your hand. We have a final opportunity for that. You can look down in the bottom of your screen. You'll see a button called raise hand. And if you don't see it, click more and then it should be there. Yes, Sister Adrian Diggs.
Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes, go
good
ahead.
evening.
Yes.
I'm new to the DLTC.
That's right.
Just started the mastermind 2023 in May, and almost done. And I just wanted to say thank you to Brandy. Just listening to you throughout the mastermind, you have been really inspiring for me. And I appreciate you and your journey and your willingness to be so open today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have another hand from Sister Sandra Wolf. I see your hand. You are able to unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say thank you. I had an eye-opening moment tonight. I'm going in from an autistic family, and so everything is twisted. But I'm going to go in. I'm starting the mastermind, and that's why I asked that question. So that's very important that I'm starting the trading signals. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping to get financially and emotionally straight the time I go into learning anything else. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Congratulations for starting the test, and thank you for your greetings to Sister Brandy. Sister Joanne, you have your hand up. Hello.
Thank you, both of you. It's so fun to hear you speak, Brandy, when we listen to you in the mastermind. I just wondered if now that you're free, if you've branched out into any other forms of financial, I don't know, activity, doing anything other than trading.
No. Like, I try to keep things as simple as possible. Like, I don't want to complicate things. I mean, maybe I might someday, maybe once my children are older, but right now I kind of just keep doing the same thing that I've been doing because I don't want to disrupt anything unnecessarily.
Yeah, I really heard that, this consistency thing you were talking about. That was really nice to hear. It sounded, I think Crystal said, it sounded really grounded and a really lovely life. So that was great to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is a beautiful life. It really is. Alina Isaac is saying, I love hearing Brandy's accent as well, and I do appreciate her honesty. I totally agree with Sean. Hearing her voice makes me think of the mastermind. I can totally relate to her. Thank you, Brandy. You are truly a great inspiration. So we have one final call. Does anyone want to say anything else before I bring on? I guess Mr. T is still here.
I just want to thank both Brandy and yourself and everyone who showed up tonight. I always love doing these things. It's always nice to hear Brandy's voice. And her experiences always pleasant. Thank you, Miss Brandy, and yourself as well, Miss Krista, and to everyone who showed up. Brandy really gave us some great insight into sort of the mindset of a master trader. And, people ask a lot of questions about trading. I can't recall a time. It's been so long that Brandon and I had a discussion where we actually talked about this. And that probably has more to do with your success as a trader than anything. Trading is actually really easy, but
Mr.
like,
T, I'm
yeah,
sorry to disturb you, but do you mind coming a little closer to your mic? We're all having a
yeah.
little
Is this
trouble
better?
hearing
Is this better?
you.
Like,
Not
I
yet.
may just have a bad signal.
Much better. That is better. Whatever
Oh,
you're
okay,
doing.
okay.
Yes.
No, I was just saying that, you know, Brandon and I have talked for I don't know how many hours, but rarely do we talk about trading. And I noticed a lot of people ask trading questions. The mindset is probably the most important thing. Not trading. Trading is actually pretty easy once you get your mind right, and you make the mistakes that we all make. And once you figure that out, it's what's going to sustain you. Really, is just everything outside of trading. I always get a kick out of speaking with DLTC traders because most of the time we never talk about trading, which I find interesting and ironic. But I won't, go down any rabbit holes. Once again, thanks to you, thanks to Miss Brandy, and thanks to everyone who showed up tonight. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Mr. T. Thank you all for coming through tonight. We had a wonderful session. People are saying that it's their favorite session to date. It has been such a pleasure having you on, Sister Brandy. Thank you for showing up for the network, for the new students, for everybody who passed through the Abacus, for our extended Abacus family. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story of being free. I appreciate your presence. Thanks, everybody, for being a wonderful audience tonight. It was wonderful. Your questions were amazing. Your interaction was amazing. And we look forward to Freedom Series number 5. So thank you all so much. Thanks for coming out tonight, Brandy. Everyone, have a wonderful evening. Thanks. We'll distribute this recording in the morning or as soon as the video renders. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. I usually stay on and I say my so long, farewell, while everybody signs off. Goodbye, goodbye. I don't know what else to say that rhymes with that. But anyway, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
You all are very welcome. It's our pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Sister Brandy, it was a pleasure. You're an amazing, amazing guest.
Thank
And,
you
and
for
I think
having
I'll bother you with more questions later because I just love your answers.
No problem. No problem.
Good evening, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing all of you all in Freedom Series number 5. Thanks so much. Peace. Good night.